Nashville, Tennessee, the home of country music. But tonight, the music won't come from steel guitars and banjos. The music to our ears will be the roar of the Honda racing engines.
Here comes Sam, though.
It has been a picture-perfect season so far this year for Sam Hornish Jr. He's taken the championship 3 times and fulfilled his childhood dream, winning the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Hornish Jr. makes the pass, they'll win it! Sam Hornish Jr.
So who can challenge this IndyCar star on a roll? In Scotland's own Dario Franchitti, a Tennessee transplant. He now calls Nashville home. He won here last year, beating out his fellow IndyCar rivals in his own backyard. Nashville, Music City, USA. Home to Nashville Superspeedway and the IndyCar tonight. Tonight, live from Nashville Superspeedway, it's the Nashville Indy 200, the final night race of the season. Everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Larry Rice. And Larry, this is a unique racetrack that offers a challenge for these drivers.
It certainly does. It's the only concrete racetrack that they race on all year. It's the second one they've ever run on ever. They ran at Dover a few years ago. But it's because it's concrete, it is a little rougher, and it's tougher on the tires. They grind the concrete so it's not so slick, and it makes the tires wear faster, and it gets a lot of marble. So you have to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, and it makes it very difficult to pass. So it's a pretty big challenge for these guys.
As you look at the front row on the inside, Dan Wheldon won the pole position in qualifying yesterday, laying down a marvelous ride. In fact, much faster than he had practiced. Of course, he considers those Penske drivers the rabbit because right now they're in the top 2 positions in the point standings, and he's been so frustrated this year because he's been fast, he's led a lot, but he has yet to win.
You know, I think everybody at Target Chip Ganassi Racing is very motivated to beat the orange and white cars. I respect Roger Penske immensely, but there's definitely a rivalry that's getting more competitive. So we just need to beat them. For me personally, I have nothing to lose. I'm 4th out of all the cars in the points, and when I say I mean the 2 Ganassi cars and the 2 Penske ones. So I just got to go for it, and being on pole helps. And obviously Andy Brown and the engineering staff have definitely got me dialed in here. There's no doubt about it.
Well, of course, he did win the opener of the season, and he has 9 bonus points for leading the most laps on 3 different occasions, but only the 1 win. He's back there 4th in the point standings. So you've got Castroneves and Hornish, the Penske drivers up front. Then you got the Ganassi drivers in 3rd and 4th. Look at Mira back there. He has 2 second-place finishes, 4 in the top 5, and he's 5th in the standings. As you go on through, Andretti is the leading rookie candidate for that $50,000 Bombardier Rookie of the Year honor. I think that trophy will be headed to his condo living room there in Indianapolis. He is 10th in the point standings. Well, of course, Hornish is on a roll because Sam Hornish has won the last 2 outings, and he is looking to become only the 3rd driver to win 3 in a row. Last year, of course, Wheldon did it. Back in 1998, Kenny Brack did it in his championship year. So what's going to take to keep Sam on top? Well, just before he was introduced to this large crowd this evening, we had a chance to visit with him down there just past Victory Lane.
He's been hotter than a midsummer afternoon in July. Sam Hornish Jr., with that win in Kansas, you vaulted your way into the lead in the points chase. How important is it to be the hunted?
I think we're just going to continue to do the same things that we've done that got us to this point so far. That's, make wise decisions out on the racetrack, try to stay out of trouble, make it to the end of these races. DNFs are really going to hurt you this year if you're one of the top 4 guys that are fighting for that championship. So, the big thing for us to do is just to make sure that we continue to move forward.
This concrete mile here at Nashville, what's the biggest challenge for you and Team Penske?
The biggest challenge is we've got to, keep the car right, down onto the bottom of the racetrack, stay, from getting up in the marbles, and good pit stops. The guys have given me awesome pit stops the last couple weeks, so hopefully we'll continue on with that. and we'll get the lead at some point and just stay there.
Well, we've heard from the drivers in the front row, and the second row, their teammate Scott Dixon starts inside of row 2, and Elio Castroneves starts on the outside. And this is a racetrack, Larry, where it's really important to have good pit stops because it's very difficult to pass on this track.
Yes, it is. And starting positions are very important for the same exact reason. The guys who start in the first 2 or 3 rows have a very distinct advantage on those who start farther back because the guys in the back have to take more chances because it's very, very difficult to use that outside groove on this particular racetrack.
It's no surprise for us to see the Ganassi drivers and the Penske drivers up in front, but for the rest of the drivers, they've got to be saying, oh no, here we go again.
Well, that's right. I mean, you take Andretti Green, they've struggled all year long. They do have the third row with Franchitti and Kanaan, and then Vito Mira back there in 7th spot. Those 3 guys probably have as good a chance as anybody is knocking off those first 2 rows, but it's going to be a very difficult job for anybody.
Well, you mentioned Vito Mira. I think a lot of people are pulling for him to pull off that victory. This is his 40th start. He's finished second on 5 occasions, including second twice this season, but he still has yet to find victory lane. Picturesque central Tennessee. In fact, we're about 30 miles east of Nashville, and no country music this evening, just a whole lot of racing sounds from Nashville Superspeedway. Live coverage of our final night race. There's the way to go racing right there. You put your little inflatable swimming pool out behind your big motor home, and that's the way you enjoy the heat. It has been hot here the last few days, although it's cooling off this evening, but still humid. We had a brief shower about 2 hours ago, which I think just made it more steamy, but there has been a slight breeze here this afternoon.
Yeah, the weather's really not going to be too bad.
Danica Patrick, of course, made a lot of noise this week with a possible move to NASCAR, so we asked her yesterday, are you going? What's the story?
With her current contract with Rahal Letterman Racing expiring at the end of this year, fan favorite Danica Patrick has indeed grabbed headlines again this week amidst all the speculation that she is entertaining and exploring possibilities of a NASCAR career in years to come. And Danica, what are the facts?
Well, the facts are that I am still under contract till the end of the year with Rahal Letterman. We're working really hard to do well and then end the year strong. And the facts that you're talking about are not really facts. The only facts about that is that my parents did go to the race in Chicago and explored opportunities, and I was curious whether or not they would want me over there and whether or not they would accept me and respect me. And I know respect is something you have to earn, but they all seem pretty excited, and there was a pretty positive response. So, curiosity, I suppose.
Speaking of respect, now at this racetrack a year ago, you started up front, led some laps. What's it going to take for the headlines on Sunday to read Danica Patrick Nab's first win at Nashville?
Wait a second, I'm dreaming. Maybe reality. It's going to take some luck. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I think that no matter what point in your career you're at, whether you're in a great car or not, it always takes a little bit of luck. But we've been struggling, so it might take even more. We just got to plan the fuel strategy right. We might have to win on a fuel strategy. That might be one of the ways. It's just been very hard to beat Penske and Ganassi. So I think it's going to take a lucky break to do that.
Guys, despite the distractions, Danica Patrick could indeed pull it off.
Well, she led here 9 laps last year, so we'll see what transpires this evening, where she starts in the 10th position. And there's the hometown guy that won it all last year, Dario Franchitti. Of course, he's from Scotland, but now resides just outside Nashville with his actress wife, Ashley Judd. Of course, drives for the Andretti Green team. And there's the 2004 winner starting next to him, Tony Kanaan. So the last 2 years, this race has been won by AGR. Of course, last year, or 2 years ago, it was Tony Kanaan who took the victory. Just an incredible season he had that year anyway.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Championship.
There's no question that Team Green had a terrific year that year. And you can look right there. He broke a half shaft trying to do his donuts. Only one of those tires is spinning, but he still got it done. And, of course, the beautiful guitar that everybody wants to win here in Nashville.
Well, last year it was Dario Franchitti who took the victory and, of course, did the donuts along the front straightaway and was victorious with the hand-painted Gibson guitar, one of the sponsors of this event. It's kind of tough to play that guitar with your racing gloves on. And those two teammates will actually start side by side, but look at the difference. Last year, after 8 races, 5 wins for Andretti Green, 18 top 5s, only half of that in top 5s, no wins. Look at that. 2.9% of the laps led. Wow. Just an incredible turnaround and not the direction you want to be going.
No, I think everybody thought Penske was going to be a lot stronger, and so was Team Target, but I don't think anybody in their worst dreams thought that Kanaan or that Team Green would be skunked at this time of the year. But so far, they not only haven't led very many laps, they haven't even come close to winning.
You talk about the Danica Patrick story that broke this week and her interest in going to NASCAR. There's also been talk that she may move at the end of this year when her contract expires to Andretti Green next year. And the question is, does she replace Herta or who does she replace there? Well, let's move back to that number 5 car of Ryan Briscoe. That's the car normally driven by Buddy Lazier. And, of course, this is his first oval race back since that horrendous crash a year ago at Chicago. Now, he did run at Watkins Glen, had a great ride there, but a little shaky coming back here. He practiced on Wednesday, had a good, solid practice. He says he's ready, but before that practice, he was somewhat conservative about coming back to this oval, and this is exactly why. Now, watch as the car breaks apart here. This was last year at Chicago, and the cockpit goes off to the right of your screen. As it breaks apart, to the right is the cockpit. Now, once again, we'll tell you, he really was not hurt. Shaken, not hurt. Set out the last couple of races of the season. An incredible impact. But the cockpit did what it was supposed to do. It was intact, and the driver was not hurt.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It stayed, even though it came apart from the rest of the race car, it was in one piece and protected the driver.
So there he stands, ready to climb back in that car that normally is driven by Buddy Lazier. So they made a driver change. The other team that made a driver change this week was Foyt Racing, as they replaced Felipe Giafone with Jeff Bucknam. So we'll have 2 new drivers in the starting lineup here this evening at Nashville Super Speedway. Beautiful downtown Nashville, Music Row, and of course the Grand Ole Opry here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep, if you're a music lover, this is where you got to be.
And if you're a race lover, this is the place to be this evening. The drivers have been told to climb aboard. They're being strapped in as we talk right now. The introductions have been made. And Vito Mira, probably the most popular driver in this series without a victory, maybe second only to Danica. But here's a guy who's finished second twice this year. He's finished second on 5 occasions. He's been close. And this is the guy that we talked to one of the team owners yesterday, Mike Griffin. He said, you know, he's getting frustrated because he's doing everything he possibly can do, driving as hard as he can. He gets so close, but he can't get to victory lane.
He has been extremely close a lot of different times. Maybe this new sponsorship with Revive will give him that little extra boost that he can get a victory.
Well, Scott Sharp about to start his 116th event. He starts in the 8th position. He has won 9 times. He was the co-champion of the very first IRL season back in '96, and quite honestly, 2 seasons ago we had written him off.
Right, and he came alive a little bit last year. Once he got hooked up with Fernandez Racing, it seemed to bring him back to life. He's run very well on a few occasions this year. Hasn't been as consistent as he would have liked, but he has run a lot better.
Well, Thomas Scheckter is a guy who has long been spectacular ever since he came to this series. And there's a look at Scheckter.
Yeah, and he's a guy who, you know, a perfect case of you never want to pass up an opportunity for a victory. He should have won his very first Indianapolis 500. He crashed. He's never been close since. You never want to give up that one chance because you may not get it back again.
Well, he's been very spectacular, very fast, very competitive, but the first couple of seasons were plagued with crashes, and some of those were his own fault.
Yeah.
And here is Koski Matsura, who starts in the 12th position. And here's a guy that has not been flashy at all during his career, but here of late he's been very consistent.
He's been very consistent. He's been running. He's one of the few guys who have consistently run up front with Ganassi and with Penske this year. He hasn't led a lot of laps, but he's hung in there in 3rd and 4th spot a lot of times running right with them.
Well, as we said earlier, qualifying was so vital yesterday. This track can be very difficult to pass on. Traffic will be a problem, and consequently there has to be mistake-free pit stops to keep that driver in contention.
Please welcome the great-grandson of Firestone's founder, Harvey Firestone, Mr. Andrew Firestone, to give that command.
Gentlemen, And lady, start your engines!
Of course, if he looks familiar, it's because he was a bachelor on the television series The Bachelor. I'm not sure where all over the world that particular show goes or went when he was featured on it, but get a chance to select from like 24 bachelorettes. There is Jeff Bucknam, who will start in the last row. He's the new driver for A.J. Foyt. Looking back on the Vito Mira's car, there's a look at Delphi number 8 of Scott Sharp. So one by one, the crew raises the arm and lets the pace car driver know that they're about ready to go. The pace car driver, of course, again, is the 3-time Indianapolis 500 champion, Johnny Rutherford. The sky, I think, looks pretty good now compared to what it did about 2 hours ago. Looked a little ominous when those rains came through.
Yeah, for sure. The Honda Hybrid is going to pace this race night. The first time a hybrid car has ever paced any kind of an IndyCar race or any kind of a race that I'm aware of.
Well, as the cars pull away, let's take a look at the starting grid. Once again, Dan Wheldon up in front on the pole, his second straight pole position. First pole in a couple of years came last week in Kansas. There's Sam Hornish, the 5th time this season. He starts from the front row. In the second row on the inside is Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon with Ganassi Target and Elio Castro-Neves, who's second in the point standings, now starting outside the second row. He has 3 victories so far this season. In the third row on the inside is the winner here last year, Dario Franchitti, and his teammate who won here 2 years ago, Tony Kanaan for Andretti Green Racing. As we move now to the fourth row, there's Vito Mira. He's had 2 second-place finishes this season alongside Scott Sharp, who's won 9 times in this series. His 116th start. Thomas Scheckter starts inside of row 5. There's Danica Patrick, who's still looking for her first victory, starting outside of the 5th row. In the 6th row on the inside is Buddy Rice, and outside is Koski Matsura. That's row 6 as you ride along from the pole car, looking at that hybrid. Move now to row 7 on the inside. Ryan Briscoe, his first oval track event since that grinding crash in Chicago a year ago. And there's Eddie Carpenter, a bachelor's degree in marketing from Butler University in Indianapolis. Jeff Simmons, the leading rookie qualifier this weekend at number 17, outside Brian Hurta for Andretti Green. In the 8th row and the 9th row, Jeff Buckman, the new driver for A.J. Foyt in the ABC entry. And Marco Andretti, I don't know what happened to Marco. He was about 8th or 9th in practice, qualified dead last.
Unbelievable. I'm not sure exactly what happened either, but he was really, really slow. And there he is. And he wouldn't talk to anybody. Nobody really knows what happened because he wouldn't talk to anybody. 428-kilometer race. The pit window is going to be between 68 and 72 laps. And the pits are going to be very, very important here tonight. So they're going to have to make great pit stops. They're going to have to time them well. Dan Wheldon, of course, is your pole sitter. He out-qualified everybody by over a mile an hour and really gained a lot of speed.
Well, the weather has been hot today. It's been a pleasant breeze, and right now only partly cloudy, so really no threat of rain. That was a concern about 2 hours ago, but that dissipated. Ready to go racing. Yeah,
not much of a weather problem here tonight. It's not real hot. The wind's not going to be a problem either.
Well, we've completed 1,405 laps, and so far the Penske drivers have led 61.9%. Ganassi's led 32%, and AGR, as you saw earlier, only 2.9%.
Yeah, not real great.
Well, we should have the green this time by Larry. Once again, up in front, Dan Wheldon, his second pole of the year, his second straight pole. Sam Hornish outside the second row, Scott Dixon. Elio Castro-Neves in third row, Dario Franchitti, and Tony Kanaan. Franchitti won last year. Kanaan won 2 years ago. And let's see if Wheldon has something, because Wheldon on 3 occasions has led the most laps and got those 3 bonus points for doing so, but could only muster a win in the opener at Homestead.
Well, I can promise you he wants to win as bad as anybody on that racetrack right now. He really kind of has his heart set on.
3 wide in the first turn. 3 wide. Can you go 3 wide here, Larry? I guess you can. Tony that time.
Tony Kanaan just pulled off a pass that I would never have believed possible. That was unbelievable. Everybody's a little nervous to get 2 wide on this racetrack. He went 3 wide and didn't even make it look hard.
Wow. Well, that's the one that you kind of hold your breath until he actually makes the pass and clears the cars, because as we said, you don't expect to see 3 wide here. Dan Wheldon grabs the lead.
Boy, that was an unbelievable turn number 1 as Kanaan just got a great jump on those guys, went right to the outside and passed a couple of guys. It was terrific.
Well, Kanaan now in third position. Your leader is Dan Wheldon. Second is Sam Hornish. Third is Tony Kanaan. And Kanaan started this race back in sixth position, so he picked up 3 spots on that start. Scott Dixon is fourth. Fifth is Dario Franchitti. Vito Mira is sixth, and seventh is Thomas Scheckter.
And what is it? Looks like the big loser.
Nevitz was the big loser on that one. He started in the fourth position, and he's back in eighth right now.
Yeah, I think
by Scott Sharp.
Yeah, he got really shuffled back on that start. He was on the inside of that second row, and I think whenever those guys went 3 wide, let's see if we can see it here.
Watch Kanaan. There's Kanaan in the green and white number 11. Let's watch the start of this race. He goes down low first.
Look how far ahead of Franchitti he was. He started next to Franchitti, and look at this. He goes way to the outside. There goes Mira by Franchitti. Oh, that's why.
There was contact. That's why Castro Nevis was shuffled back about 4 spots.
Well, we didn't think there was room enough for 3 cars, and there wasn't. He got hit, and he lost way back. He went clear back to about 8th or 9th spot, so he lost at least 4 or 5 spots. And they're just coming off of that corner. There just wasn't enough room for 3 guys.
Well, Castro Nevis back there in 8th position right now. As you take a look at Kanaan, who is back there in 3rd, about 0.6 of a second behind your leader. Now keep in mind that your leader is Wheldon. The driver that leads the most points will receive 3 bonus points. That's happened 3 times for Kanaan or for Wheldon this season, but he really has not capitalized all the laps he's led.
Well, he's had some very, very bad luck. He should have won about 3 or 4 races. Indianapolis maybe being one of them. But another time, he lost a wheel nut right on the very last pit stop with just a few laps to go. He lost that race. So he's lost at least 2 races, maybe 3, that were not anything to do with him when he was leading the race.
Well, of course, he made the jump this year from the Andretti Green team to the Chip Ganassi Target team, and of course won the season's opener. He wanted to prove that he could win with a different team. Last year, of course, AGR had the Honda engines. Other teams struggled with the Toyota, and he wanted to prove that he could win with a different team. He did so. Looked very bright after that first win, and then they've struggled. As you indicated, a lot of problems that were not his doing.
Right, and you know, he was very brave in saying right up front that he thought that team was going in the wrong direction this year. Obviously, he's been proven right, and Michael Andretti was very upset with him when he made that comment, but it looks like that's happening.
Tony Kanaan starts to close in on Sam Hornish. Sam told you in that interview early on he wants to keep the car glued to the bottom in the corners. And there's Tony, who won here 2 years ago. So he and his teammate can start a band with their Gibsons that they won the last 2 years.
Well, those first 3 cars have pulled away a little bit from the second 3 cars, but still, Dixon, Franchitti, and Mira are hanging pretty close to them. You can see them back there in the background. Those 6 cars, though, have pulled into a pretty good lead off from everybody else.
Sam Hornish in second position has won the last 2 outings. Now, keep in mind, 2 of the drivers have won 3 in a row. It happened back in 1998. Kenny Breck was the first to do it during his championship season with A.J. Foyt. And then last year, Dan Wheldon won 3 in a row.
Watch this throttle down here.
100%.
100%. They don't lift around this racetrack. When you got the thing set up right and you're not in traffic.
Look at the G-force, though. Watch the G-force in the corner.
Oh, yeah. The G-forces here are over 4 Gs through the corners, which is a tremendous amount of force.
The turns are banked 14 degrees. The front stretch 9 degrees. The back stretch 6 degrees. It is a tri-oval, 2.1 kilometers around.
Yeah, it's a very difficult racetrack. We talk about Richmond being in a bind all the time. Well, this track is not a lot bigger than Richmond, and it's still it's a tri-oval, and it's a very, very difficult racetrack to drive.
Last year, Tony Kanaan led 75 of the laps, but his teammate led 74, and of course, Franchitti won this thing.
Well, right now, Dan Wheldon seems to be setting the pace fairly easily. Nobody up there really challenging him at this point. I think everybody pretty happy just to keep him inside. I think Hornish right now hasn't been up there trying to nibble away at that lead, trying to make a pass or anything. They're trying to just kind of feel everything else to get ready for that first pit stop.
A couple laps earlier, let's watch as Scott Dixon goes up there. Whoa! Dario white walls the tires.
Yeah, that was off of turn number 4. He just went up. He didn't hit it very hard. I think that was more of a misjudgment than it was the race car not handling very well, because he didn't hit it very hard.
That's when you just run out of space.
Right. And the bad thing about these cars is it does not take much of a hit to bend the suspension on these things, so you got to be very, very careful.
Catherine Evans has moved up 1 spot. He's in 7th, but he is the only driver that has led every race this season. But right now, he's had a long way to go to find that top spot, because Wheldon leads this thing after 15 laps with Hornish second, then Kanaan, Dixon, and Dario Franchitti. Live coverage, our final night race of the season, as Wheldon leads Sam Hornish and Tony Kanaan. Right now, you're riding along with Dario Franchitti back in 5th position, looking back at Vito Mira. And Mira probably, over the course of this season, has passed more drivers than anybody else.
There's no doubt about it. Last couple of races, I know he's passed more than anybody else, because he kept going up, then you have a bad pit stop, and you go back about 4 spots, and you come back and pass a bunch of cars. No question about it. In at least the last 2 or 3 races, that's exactly what he's done. Just pass car after car after car. Tonight, not quite as easy. This racetrack is just a very difficult racetrack to pass on. So you've got to kind of sit there, wait on your time, and take it when you get it, especially in traffic. Is the best time.
Well, there's the gap between 1st and 2nd, and Hornish just waiting for Wheldon to make a mistake, which is not likely this evening. It makes very few of them. Of course, he won the championship last year, won 6 races to set a season high and a record for total race wins in one season. Hornish back there. Hornish so far has won 17 times in the Indy Racing League. Castronevis, his teammate, has won 10. Sharp and Wheldon both with 9 victories.
Well, they're coming up on some lap traffic, so we'll see if Wheldon can get through the traffic real well.
There's Scott Dixon back in the 4th position, and again, we saw him white wall those tires when he brushed the wall, and as you indicated, and we got off on another tangent, that these cars are very, very, very fragile. They can't take any hard hits like that.
No, you have to be very careful. Even though it didn't look like a hard hit, and it wasn't a hard hit, it doesn't take a lot to bend those suspension pieces. And if you bend them or weaken them, as the race goes on, when you're pulling all those G's, it can cause you big, big problems later on.
Obviously, the G-force indicator on that car is not working right now. The telemetry not working in that area, but 100% throttle. Just bury your foot, let it go. Of course, you saw him go by Jeff Buckman, who is the new driver for A.J. Foyt. Jeff is a former championship surfer who spent about 3 years on the tour and won several surfing championships, but right now he's surfing on concrete here at Nashville Super Speedway. So once again, Wheldon is your leader by 0.3 of a second over Hornish, then Kanaan. Dixon back there in 4th. We've been watching him. Franchitti is 5th, and Mira back in the 6th position. Then Castronevis and Sharp.
And Wheldon really his RPMs, you could see on that when we were watching there, they weren't varying very much. You just cut the throttle down. You're going from 9,800 up to 10.2. That's about it. About 300 or 400 RPMs around the racetrack. That's all you could vary.
Well, you watch Scott Dixon. They won the championship about 3 years ago. Back there in the 4th position.
Well, of course, he and Wheldon both have 1 victory apiece. The Penske guys have all the rest of them. So Chip Ganassi right there, he's had kind of a tough year, even though they're running well in the point standings. They're the only guys who've been able to keep up with Team Penske. That guy right there is one of the most competitive guys on the racetrack. He would love to beat Roger Penske.
Of course, the big news also has been the hiring of Montoya. Juan Montoya leaving Formula One to rejoin Ganassi. Of course, he won the 500 for Ganassi, won the kart championship for Ganassi, and rejoins him in NASCAR. First time ever that a full-time Formula One driver left the series to join NASCAR. That could be real interesting to see how he fares in the big heavy taxi cabs next season. As you go by, there's that Jeff Simmons that just went by. Wheldon out in front of Sam Hornish, so nothing has changed. Kanaan still 3rd, Dixon 4th. Franchitti and Mira back in the 6th position. Castronevis still mired back there in 7th.
Yeah, he's not getting back up through that those guys nearly as quickly as he would like. And we talked about the fact that the starting position and track position were going to be extremely important. As it now looks like Wheldon has started to pull out a little bit away from Sam Hornish. Hornish has been hanging in there about 2 car lengths back. All of a sudden, he's dropped back about another 4 car lengths.
Well, and Hornish back there in second position, now you're, 35 laps in on these tires. And this track is very abrasive on tires. Maybe the handling goes away slightly with the turbulence off that race car. He backs off just slightly. Let's wait for the next pit stop.
Well, that's right. And the tires are going to be a problem tonight. Not so much that they're going to wear out, anything like that. But if you, it could be a fact that if they go away, they make the car handle worse. And if you've got your car, if you don't have it set up perfectly, it can cause you some big problems.
Well, there's Kanaan, who is laboring about 1.6 seconds back in third position after that great and gutsy start at the beginning of this event, where he went high, went 3 wide to make the pass and pick up 3 positions in the first turn. Now you're back to Scott Dixon, who is back in 4th position. Scott almost 3 seconds behind your leader.
Yeah, Scott Dixon is gaining on Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan is steadily, the last 10 laps, fallen back from the 2 leaders, and Dixon has steadily gained on him.
Well, there's a straightaway advantage now for Dixon as you go back to Franchitti, and Franchitti has all he can handle, and Vito Mira right behind him.
Yeah, Vito Mira seems to be just a little bit quicker right now than Franchitti, but he hasn't been able to get up there and challenge him and make that pass. But you can see right there, Franchitti had to get it out of the throttle just a little. Oh, somebody's
that's why
slow.
That was Button up there on the
look
high
at
side.
this, though. Look at
almost
this.
Contact.
Mira goes to the outside. That's how hard it is to pass. Oh, don't get up there. Oh, that was pretty scary. He got up in those marbles, had to get out of the throttle.
But he had to go on the high side because the closing speed was so great as Franchitti got off the throttle trying to get by the inside of Bucknam in the 14 car. And Mira had no place to go but the high side.
Right.
There's Scott Sharp. Sharp back there in the... Scott Sharp has gotten around Castroneves, so Sharp now is 7th. Castroneves drops to 8th.
Yeah, so Castroneves really having some problems here tonight. This is the most problem we've seen him have for a while. But Scott Sharp, again, having a good run. Not a top 5 run yet, but a very good run for him in that Fernandez Racing Team car.
Oh, Scott Sharp.
Oh, look at this. Here goes Scheckter around.
Scheckter by Elio.
So Castroneves really with some big-time handling problems here.
He needs a pit stop.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we saw that brush at the start of the race. Could there be a mechanical problem?
Well, it very well could be. It doesn't, as we said, it doesn't take much. He banged wheels. He might have been something just a little bit, knock that thing out of whack just a little bit, and it doesn't take very much.
Well, there's Thomas Scheckter, who now is in the 8th position. Scheckter out of Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, he
became one of the crowd favorites early on because he was so spectacular his rookie season. Almost won the Indy 500 in his rookie season. Led the most laps that season. Well, that race, I should say, before making contact with the outside wall in turn 4.
Nobody's ever doubted his ability. Nobody's ever doubted
his bravery.
That's right. The only thing they once in a while doubt is his decisions. He's made some poor decisions as we go into Danica Patrick.
Well, Danica Patrick right now back in the 10th position, but she's closing in on Castroneves. And apparently there's a problem in Tony Kanaan's number 11. An early pit stop for Tony Kanaan.
Oh, that's not a good sign. He had a terrific start. We said he had been falling back. The first 30 laps he ran extremely well. Ran right with those guys, and then he started falling back.
Well, he's dead stick coming in. There's no power as they go to the engine cover to take the bonnet off.
For all the great luck that team has had over the last couple of years, it's hard to believe that they can have this much bad luck.
I learned that bonnet from our old buddy Derek Daly, who's from Ireland. He said, that's not an engine cover, that's the bonnet. So for all of our European friends, that's the bonnet they're going to take off.
So, yeah, he's, they've got the Honda engineers down there. They'll be looking at that, see if they can figure out what's going on. But usually when you come in dead stick, if it's not electrical, then it's something way too bad to fix.
Well, and even if it is electrical, it's going to take a long time to change the ignition.
Yep.
And
look at that.
He's going to be out of contention.
Boy, Wheldon right there got a little squirrely as he got up behind that lap car.
That's Ed Carpenter, isn't it? That's Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, and he was trying to he's trying to run the outside a little more to see if he can make a pass.
He just took the air off his front wing, and he got very, very loose in front.
It's very difficult. See how hard it, he's quite a bit faster than Ed Carpenter, but he's having trouble right now lapping him. And this
may be what Sam Hornish is looking for as well.
That's exactly what Sam Hornish is waiting on. That's the reason he didn't get too big of a hurry earlier. he knows that when they get these cars that are lapping that are a little bit quicker, it's going to be very difficult. It might be his opportunity to make the pass.
Well, that jerks the wheel a little hard. Oh, look at that. Oh, well, that was a little gesture that we've come to recognize in all of motorsports.
Yeah.
I think Ed Carpenter got the message to get that you-know-what out of the way.
Yeah.
Now he's got Ryan Briscoe. Let's see how difficult it is to get by Ryan Briscoe. If Briscoe stays up high, he'll go on by on the inside. So Briscoe gave him the room that Eddie Carpenter didn't give him. "53 laps now complete here at Nashville with Wheldon enjoying the 1.6-second lead over Sam Hornish. And he is beginning to lap part of the field. Right now we have 12 drivers on the lead lap as he begins to close in. You see the spot up in front. That's Marco Andretti. So about a straightaway now between Andretti in 12th position and Dan Wheldon, your leader, in about 5 to 7 laps before we see pit stops.
And you can see from that graphic that the guys who started up front are still running up front pretty much. Mira's in 7th, or he started 7th. He's running in 5th. He's the farthest back guy to be in the top 5 right now. So
we've only had 1 leader so far this afternoon or this evening. Now we had 3 leaders, the least we ever had back in 04, 2 years ago. And the most leaders we had 11 last year, but only 1 leader so far today, and that's been Dan Wheldon.
Yeah, and what we had anticipated is so far proven out to be very true. Very difficult to pass. And even when Franchitti got in the lap traffic, had to get out of the throttle, still didn't
have room on the high side to make the move.
Yeah, Mira just could not make the move. He got up beside him, but once he got down in the corner, he got those marbles. Oh, and here comes Franchitti in the pits.
Franchitti for his pit stop.
Wow, he's coming in pretty early. This is only lap 57.
Well, that may be pit strategy on the part of the Andretti Green team to stagger their drivers. So that goes Mira up to 4th position.
Right now, he's the only Andretti Green driver that's up near the front.
In contention right now.
Yeah, with Kanaan out, the other 2 are running near the back of the pack. So with their win last year, obviously they figure this is a good strategy for them.
Well, simply pit strategy. Let's see if they make any adjustment to that front wing, Larry. And no adjustment. And Wheldon's coming in as well. So our first lead change will be on a pit stop.
Well, it might be that these tires are wearing out and they're losing speed. When they start running 199, 198 mile an hour where they were running 201, oh, look at Wheldon. He added a bunch of front wings. So he's changing the handling, and he was leading that thing.
Now, there may have been adjustment to tire pressure in there's Castor Nevitin in the 27 car of Franchitti.
Right, tire pressure.
But there was no adjustment to the wing.
And you can see that flasher on the wrist of the pit man when he's holding it up there. That thing's flashing.
Scott Sharp has killed the engine. Now, let's see what pit he may be blocking. Here comes Herta.
Oh, there comes a whole bunch of them in there, and he's trying to get him out of the way.
And here comes Hornish.
And see, there's a case where it doesn't have to be your pit guys that are causing trouble. When you got a guy out there like that sitting in the middle of the racetrack, it can cause you to slow down.
Hornish in a quick pit stop.
Wow.
Long walk back, so that'll put him a lap off the pace.
Oh yeah, or 2 laps.
If in fact they can get the car refired.
Yeah, it quit so far down the pit lane. I'm surprised there might be another problem. Now they can't get it fired, so there's another problem. Usually, if you get that thing out of the pit box, you've already got fuel in it. You know, you're getting the fuel, so there's got to be another problem with that car.
Well, we're showing Wheldon back in front.
And he's already up
2 seconds over Sam Hornish from that pit stop.
Boy, you can hear him grabbing gears when he got behind that lap car, trying to get shifted down, keep his momentum up when he went around that lap car.
So after the first round of pit stops, it's Wheldon, Hornish, and Dixon. There is the number 15 car, Buddy Rice.
Yeah, he's limping along trying to get in. That was him that Wheldon went around, and he had to downshift because he slowed down so much right in front of him. Now he's going to be lucky. Oh yeah, he's not going to make it all the way around. So the yellow's out.
So Rice is coasting, and the yellow comes out on lap 64. Now we had 4 yellow periods back in 2001 for a total of 36 laps. We had 8 periods of yellow in 2002 and 2003 for a total of 57 laps. So once again, our first yellow of the evening. Under yellow, and there is a look at Hornish, who will restart in second position. And it looks like let's see how many drivers are on the lead lap there, Larry. I know that Danica is on the lead lap. Did Marco lose a lap?
He must have. He looks like he's down a lap, so he's.
So we have 9 drivers in the lead lap after this pit stop.
Right. Brian Briscoe had a bad pit stop. He lost a lot of ground on the pit stop.
He's a lap off the pace now.
He's a lap off the pace back at 13th right now. So
there's an emergency truck there on the outside of the racetrack, out of the groove, but apparently they found something up there in the way of debris.
Probably some debris that they're just getting off the racetrack. But
the expansion joints on this track, Larry, are not perpendicular with the groove. They actually go in the same direction as the groove. So you're not going over the bumps as you were if you had those expansion strips over, 20 feet.
Right. And here comes Castro
Evans back in.
Well, this is a strategy. This is a strategy pit stop. He's already back in 7th or 8th spot.
So the top off. There's the flashing. There's the flashers.
Yeah, he's out there. So, number 1, he didn't want to get run over by somebody else. But number 2, that makes it a lot easier for that driver to see him when he's holding up his glove and saying, don't go, don't go. And then when he drops it, he doesn't see the flashing anymore. He knows it can go. And it's more important at nighttime than it would be in the daytime.
Now you see this movement right here. As we've said before, it's very elementary. He's just trying to keep the tires clean. As these tires cool off during the yellow period, they can't pick up the marbles out there on the racetrack. So he's trying to scrub the marbles off, clean the tire up.
But those tires run, when they take those tire temperatures when they're still hot, they run any place from 210 to 230 degrees, and they're very, very hot. So when they slow down, that hot rubber will pick up all the loose rubber, the cooler rubber that's laying out there in the racetrack.
Fahrenheit. So
Fahrenheit, right? Fahrenheit. Sorry, not Celsius. So that's why they have to try to knock those off, because some drivers, when they've gotten up in the marbles on some racetracks, they can't actually knock those marbles off, and they have to go in and make a pit stop just to put on new tires. So I would expect if you could keep it out of the wall, that might be what would happen.
We have a sweeper up on the racetrack right now, so that's why this yellow becomes more of a lengthy yellow than we had anticipated. We've gone some 4 laps now under yellow, so they've all had a chance to make their stop. Most of them made their stop under green just where the yellow came out. Scott Dixon back in 3rd position.
Yeah, after kind of a little bit of a shaky start, he's come on very strong. He was very, very quick in that last, right before the end of that last segment. He was gaining on Tony Kanaan pretty quickly, and then he was running just as fast as 2 liters. So he was one of the 3 fastest cars on the racetrack the whole last 20 or 25 laps of that last segment.
Scott Dixon, of course, was victorious at Watkins Glen. We've had 2 wins so far this season with the Target Chip Ganassi team. Dan Wheldon won the opener at Homestead in southern Florida down outside Miami, and Scott Dixon victorious at Watkins Glen. But the rest of the victory lane celebrations have included a Penske driver. Not to anybody's surprise this season, as you see Buddy Rice climbing out of the number 15 car. So
yeah, whatever
the sidelines.
Whatever the problem was, it's a fatal problem for tonight. He's not going to get back out there tonight. Tough break for him. We saw Scott Sharp's car right there. We just seen them heading back for the pit area a little few minutes ago, and so he's back in the pit area now. So he's done for the night. So we've lost 3 awfully good race cars here very early in the going.
Only 70 of 200 laps scheduled for this evening. We've gone 70, and you're right along with Danica Patrick. There's that sweeper still up on the high side of the racetrack. Danica will restart in the 7th position, so attrition has helped her move in the top 10.
Well, she said it was going to take a little luck. Maybe she's getting some help here.
Well, that's right. It's going to take some luck. But I tell you what, one driver that I think we're all fans of is Johnny Rutherford, the 3-time Indy champion who's driving the pace car. And Johnny always said, I'd rather be lucky than good. And that's become a motto of a lot of race drivers. It takes a lot of luck.
Well, it certainly does. I mean, as we've documented with Dan Wheldon, he could have won 3, maybe 4 races already this year if he had had some good luck. He unfortunately did not have good luck, and he struggled a little bit, and it was frustrating for him. That's why he's frustrated. He's not one bit frustrated with the way that team has run this year, because they've run very, very well. He's frustrated with the fact that when they run really well, they still can't bring home the bacon when it's done.
Bobby Rahal, of course, the team owner, the winner at Indianapolis back in 1986, and there is some question as to whether Danica Patrick, whose contract expires at the end of this season with Rahal Letterman Racing, will return, or there was some talk that she might head to Andretti Green. And then the question was, well, who's going to leave that team?
Yeah.
And they said, well, maybe Herder's going to leave that team. And of course, we're getting that part of the season called the silly season with, still 5-6 races to go, that people start questioning where people are headed for next season.
Yeah, and, she's very, very good. She's very popular. She hasn't won a race yet, but she's very, very popular with the fans.
We hope to hear from Buddy Rice as Jack Arute is setting him up for an interview, but still we have at least one more lap before we turn them loose. So once again on the restart, Wheldon, Hornish, Dixon, Mira, and Franchitti. So Mira has moved up a couple of spots on that pit stop. There is a look at Marco.
Yeah, Marco's one lap down there.
He's a lap down, but he's right with the leaders.
Yeah, and he's going to give Sam Hornish a little bit of a problem there, it looks like.
Well, as they come 2 by 2, as they take that green flag to restart this race, there are some back markers. Some cars a lap off the pace back there right with the leaders. And look at this. Kanaan is back out.
Yeah, Kanaan back on the racetrack, but he lets Mira go on by him. So
well, he's a number of laps down, too.
There's a lot of laps down, so he's not going to cause those guys any trouble. But
Kanaan's about 17 laps off the pace right now.
Yeah, so Vito Mira got a terrific start. He got around Scott Dixon on that restart, and also passed, Kanaan right away.
So now he has to get by Marco Andretti, who's a lap off the pace. So Wheldon now with the lead over Sam Hornish, then Mira. But Mira has that lap car of Andretti out in front of him. Let's see how easy he makes it for Mira to go on by.
Well, it looks like he's
him there, lets him go on by. Yeah, lets him go on by.
Well, that's good. It's good to see the young man do something like that. Let him go on by, because he knows he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, he's a lap off the pace, so he lets him go. So Mira now tries to close in on Hornish. Hornish right behind Dan Wheldon. We work lap 76 at 200 schedule. Now you're right along with Mira. You see the gap between second and third. The first two are right there together on the racetrack. And then Mira is about 1.7 seconds behind Dan Wheldon. Dixon is now fourth. Scheckter is up to fifth. Franchitti drops to sixth. Castro up at seventh, which is about where he's been the entire race. Although remember, he came back in and topped off the field, so he can go another 3 or 4 laps beyond what these guys.
He was already at the end of the lead lap, so he knew he didn't have a lot to lose or a lot to by going in and doing that. So he can go a few more laps. Maybe it'll put him back in contention, because he knows once he lost all that ground on that initial start, it was very, very difficult for him to make that up.
Only 9 drivers on the lead lap. Danica Patrick is back in 9th position, back to the lead. There's the gap between first and second. That's what we've watched all evening long from the start. It's been Wheldon. The only time Wheldon lost the lead is when he was in for pits.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Sam Hornish, we heard him talk about in the interview before the race, he was going to depend a lot on his pit crew to help him out as we take a look at Buddy Rice as he watches the remainder of this race from the pit area. But
that's tough for a race driver. It's very frustrating to be in the pit lane watching everybody else that are having fun.
Well, it really is. And we just said what a terrible, terrible time he's had since he won the Indianapolis 500.
A couple of laps ago, Franchitti and Scheckter got very close on the racetrack. Now you're riding with Franchitti.
Yeah, and he comes up. They've got a lap car in front of him, and Scheckter's trying to get around the lap car. And whoa! Franchitti, he didn't know Franchitti was there. Franchitti tried to go around underneath him. He didn't see him there and almost pulled down into him.
Franchitti got off the throttle enough to avert disaster that time. Because had he ripped up over the tire, he'd gone for a ride.
Yeah, but Scheckter, he was busy with the car in front of him, he didn't have time to look in his mirrors. That lap car in front of him was causing him some problems, and he didn't have time to look in the mirror. And when Franchitti tried to stick his nose in there and he came down, you're right, they almost touched tire.
Franchitti lost the RPMs by checking up on the throttle. Kastronevic got by him, so Elio is up to 6th position. Franchitti, who won this race last year, back to 7th. Koski Matsura is 8th, and 9th is Danica Patrick. So now 9 cars still on the lead lap. 10th is Marco Andretti. 11th is Brian Herta. Jeff Simmons is 12th, and Carpenter is 13th, and Ryan Briscoe. Tony Kanaan well off the pace. He's about 17 laps back in the 15th position. Buddy Rice is out. Scott Sharp is out. And Jeff Buckman is showing some 46 laps off the pace.
And look at this. The best Andretti green car is Franchitti in 7th. 7th, 10th, 11th, and 15th. Nobody would have ever believed that a year ago that these cars would have been running this poorly at this racetrack.
Did they have such an advantage just because of the engine last year?
Well, they had a huge advantage with that engine, but I think the other thing is I really believe that the reason Ganassi and Penske are running so well, they spent all year trimming their cars out, making them absolutely perfect so they could run with the Hondas. So this year, when Team Green did not have that horsepower advantage, they didn't have their cars trimmed out.
So you're trying to say that they really didn't do their homework like the other teams did.
They didn't have to last year. And this year they've been playing catch-up, and they just haven't done a very good job of catching up, to be quite honest.
Well, but it would seem that the team should look ahead and say, next year we're going to have the Hondas, and we need to do our homework.
Well, you know, but sometimes when you're running that good and you're that dominant, you don't really know. You don't want to believe it's all the engine.
Of course, it happened. Let's go back to 94 at the Indy Motor Speedway with Penske. He had that pushrod Mercedes, and it was so dominant, they didn't realize what a bad chassis they had. And what happened the very next year? They missed the show with both drivers. Unser and Fittipaldi missed the race.
The only time Roger Penske ever came to the Indianapolis 500 and looked like a complete jerk. He just absolutely was not ready, and you're exactly right. He had such a dominant engine the year before, they didn't know how bad they really were in the chassis department.
And they found out in 1995 when both Unser and Fittipaldi missed the race. And you and I were doing a wrap-up show in qualifying. We simply could not believe what we were reporting.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody would ever believe it. The captain has always been the guy to beat at Indianapolis no matter what else he did. And that year, he just wasn't even close.
You're watching Marco Andretti. Of course, your leading rookie contender for Rookie of the Year, but he's a lap off the pace back in 10th position. Wheldon rides in 2nd position. You look off the nose of his car to Sam Hornish Jr., who leads this thing for the 2nd time. He led for a couple laps when Wheldon made that pit stop. But it was just a couple laps ago that he went on by on the inside. Now here it is again.
Yeah, it just looks like he got.
He just takes the groove away from him, too. He comes on the inside. Wheldon started to come down on him.
Well, Wheldon pushed up a little bit coming off the corner, had to climb out of the throttle. And you're right. When they got down the next corner, Wheldon had no choice. Look at Sam wiggled right there, though, too, as he got underneath him. But he took the racetrack away from him.
Look at this. Look at this. He comes back around on lap 94.
We're watching the replay, and here comes Wheldon. I told you he was upset. I told you he was not going to like that. And boy, once he kind of got his act together, he came back and went right back under Sam Hornish and took the lead away.
Well, now let's see if Mira can do something with Sam Hornish.
Well, I think Mira right now is just sitting back there kind of waiting. If these guys keep doing this very long, they're going to cause their own problems, and I'll be leading this thing.
Last lap, Tony Kanaan was the fastest driver out there. That's he in that green and white car. But Tony Kanaan's like 17 laps off the pace, but right now he's one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack.
Well, he's keeping right up with those guys. There's no question. That's Scott Dixon back there in 4th place, actually the 5th place in that 5th car in that line. But all 5 of those cars are running much quicker than anybody else on the racetrack right now. Vito
Mira still there in 3rd, right behind Vitor's that green and white of Tony Kanaan. But again, he's well off the pace.
Wow.
Well, Wheldon felt from the very first race he had something to prove. And now that he's had some problems and he's cost, well, the team has cost him some more mechanical problems, have cost him a couple of wins. He feels like he has more to prove.
Well, right now, Sam Hornish is running a little bit quicker than Wheldon. Once Wheldon got back around him, he's running a little bit quicker laps, pulled up on him very slightly every lap, but Dan Wheldon, I think his mental determination is going to be tough to overcome.
All right, now here is the last pass for the lead. Looks like about the same way that, a little quicker, a little cleaner than what the pass that Hornish had.
Exactly the same thing. The spotter told Hornish, he's under you, give him room. And right there, that could have been a big problem. Sam could have probably pulled down. Later on in the race, he might have pulled down. But this early in the race, he says, not worth it right now. I'll let him have that lead back.
Well, the fans seem to like that type of competition here.
Oh, yeah. Both those guys are competitors. They both want to win this race. And they're just measuring each other up. A long way to go in this race. They're measuring each other up. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen here at the end.
Halfway, 100 laps down, 100 laps to go. Another pit stop coming up. They've gone now some 41 laps since the last pit stop.
Yeah,
this is what we have come to expect here at this racetrack. Again, the characteristics of this track are such that we're not going to see side-by-side racing like we see at some other tracks like Texas, but we expect to see a lot of nose to tail like this.
Yeah. Let's go down and see if we can hear from Scott Sharp.
What happened on that pit stop, Scotty?
I'll tell you, JD, my engineer, and the whole Delphi guys just did a great job. We changed a lot from warm-up and just hit it spot on. We were just cruising. Came in for a stop, routine stop, left aggressively, and then all of a sudden, it's like about 3 pit stops later, someone just hit a kill switch and it shut off. So this point looks like the fuel pump died, or maybe the drive to the fuel pump, really not sure, but just all of a sudden, no fuel pressure.
You had a chance to see the competition out there. Is there one guy that's impressed you so far?
Well, Vitor, that's for sure. He looked good last night. He looked like, he couldn't get by Dario early on there, but was plenty quick. And looking at what he's doing right now, it's hard to be not impressed a bit.
I think that's important that a driver like Scott, who's been in 116 of these events, he's won 9 of them, he's a former champion, can look at a driver like Vitor and say, I'm impressed with him. And I think many drivers are impressed with him because he's been so aggressive. He just is that far away from victory lane.
He's been so close so many times and never been able to quite pull it off. And, there are a lot of people in the pit area. He's a very popular guy down there. He's done everything you need to do to win a race. Just hasn't quite closed the deal yet. And a lot of people would like to see that happen.
Well, he hangs right to the rear of Sam Hornish. But they're all chasing Wheldon, which they have for much of this race.
Yeah, and really Mira appears to be every bit as quick, if not a little quicker than Sam Hornish. I think he's just biding his time, running back there, not trying to really get up there and skirmish with him at this point.
Well, Wheldon has led all but 7 laps here, so he's about to ensure himself for the 4th time this season the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps in a race. But again, you talk about strategy, Larry. We're not really sure because these guys may not be showing all the cards they have up their sleeve.
Well, that's right. They're probably going to be making another pit stop here in about another 15 laps. So this next pit stop is going to be very important because it could be the last one. If they can stretch it to 120 laps, now they can. I think they're going to have to make 2 more no matter what.
Yeah, I'm not sure they can stretch it that
No, they're not going to stretch it that much. They're going to have to make 2 more pit stops. And of course, with only that 1 yellow, which came after the first round of pit stop, it's going to make it very difficult for them.
Well, of course, Vito Mira's Panther team had a great pit stop that first time. He picked up a couple of positions in the pit lane. And he'd like to do that again on this next stop, right along with Franchitti, who's back there in the 7th position. Casper Evans is now 6th. And of course, Casper Evans was involved in that touch at the start of the race when Kanaan took him 3 wide into turn 1, and he immediately backed off from his second row starting position, dropped some 3 positions, and he's labored throughout the evening back there around 6th, 7th, or 8th. Right now in 6th position. Franchitti is 7th, 8th is Matsura, 9th is still Danica, and it's those 9 on the lead lap. Marco is still in 10th, a lap off the pace.
And you can hear Franchitti. He's having to get out of the throttle coming off the corner right here. He has to get out. Now he's back in. The tires beginning to wear, starting to get a push, starting to push up towards the wall.
Because earlier we saw in the telemetry that it's 100% throttle all the way around this thing if the car's handling properly. Now, back in the 7th position, that is Casper Evans out in front of him. Franchitti 13.3 seconds behind.
Yeah, you know, Frankitti's he's not handling all that great right now. He's having a few problems. Those first 3 guys are the 3 guys that are really got their cars hooked up.
You think the winner will come from those top 3?
I think the winner's going to come from the top 4. I think Scott Dixon still has an excellent chance to win this race. He's right in there with those guys. Even though he's behind Kanaan, he's still very, very close and very, very competitive.
Well, Dan Wheldon, as we said, has led all but 7 points, or 7 laps, so he will get those 3 bonus points. 4th time this season he has led the most laps to receive 3 bonus points. At one time, several years ago, Larry, they gave bonus points for qualifying, but too many guys were using grenade engines for qualifying. They took those points away. There's a look back at Danica back to Marco.
And, of course, Marco a lap down. Ooh, he got a little wide there coming off of that corner. But Danica's still hanging in there on the lead lap. She's pretty far back. She's about 3/4 a lap away from the leaders, but still.
That all could change with a pit stop or a yellow.
That's right.
There's Marco. Marco again is a lap off the pace. He's back in 10th position.
It'd be interesting. We have to talk to him when he's maybe next week about exactly what happened in the qualifying, because it made such a huge difference having to start so far back. And Herta, again, one of the first guys in the pit area.
We mentioned that for qualifying yesterday, Marco did not make himself available to the media to answer questions. That whole team very, very upset and disappointed at his qualifying effort. The car just simply went away. They missed the mark, and he didn't want to talk about it.
No, he didn't, and he wouldn't talk about it the rest of the day. He never did tell anybody exactly what happened.
Once again, you're right along with Dan Wheldon, looking back at Sam Hornish, who is going for his 3rd straight victory. Back beyond that would be the orange and blue car of Vito Mira, then the green and white of Kanaan, who was about 17 laps off the pace.
Yeah, those first 4 guys really have pulled away to about a 10 or 11 second lead, about almost a half a lap lead over the rest of the field. So. And, of course, Kanaan is right in there, although he's way, way back in the standings because he missed so many laps in the pits. But he's running right with this lead
Kanaan's
group.
like 17 laps off the pace right now, actually 16 laps.
But those first 4 guys just kind of marking time right now, especially the first 3. Things haven't changed a whole lot in the last 10 or 15 laps, but they're going to be making a pit stop. They'll probably go a little farther this time. They only went 60 laps the first time. But they'll be going a little farther because they did run some yellow flag laps right after that first pit stop.
Thomas Scheckter, who was up in the 5th position, headed for the pit lane. So the first of the top 10 to make a pit stop. This will be a routine stop, although early by a few laps.
Well, you know, and one thing they might be counting on by making these a little bit earlier pit stops is the fact that they can gain some speed. Pressure tires will gain some speed.
He almost
looked like
flame shot out the back, and he keeps it going.
Yeah, I think he had a problem. It looked like he had a half shaft broken.
No.
When he took off, it looked like he broke a half shaft, and he pulled right in the pits.
Behind the pit wall. So
only one tire smoking when he took off. That's never a good sign.
So we'll cross off Thomas Scheckter.
Look at the right rear. Right rear is still shiny. He broke the half shaft on the right rear when he took off.
Well, here comes your leader. That will give the lead back to Hornish.
Well, that's a little earlier than I expected. Everybody must be counting on at least one more pit stop.
Broken drive shaft, putting Scheckter out as you surmised.
Right. Yeah, I could see immediately. Yeah, immediately when he took off, the only one tire was smoking, which is never a good sign. So he had to see if they have any trouble here.
No adjustment there. No adjustment.
Now, that was a very good pit stop. No adjustments.
Here comes Franchitti.
Look how important it is. The guy on the right rear had a little bit of a problem. Well, that was a quick pit stop. As soon as they got the tires on, they went back out. They did not take a full fuel load. They did not take a full fuel load. He should move up a couple of spots.
And here comes Hornish. So that will give the lead to Vito Mira. And that'll be our 3rd leader of the evening.
Well, this could be some strategy. This might be where Castroneves leads his lap, too, if these guys all make a pit stop, because he should be able to go a couple more laps further than anybody else. This see if he takes on a full fuel load. I think Wheldon took on. Yeah, he's going to take on a full fuel load. So did Wheldon. Franchitti did not.
Dixon is going to lead a lap.
So
here comes Mira for his second scheduled pit stop.
Well, these guys very desperately need
a good pit stop.
A good pit stop. He's done such a good job on the racetrack. They don't need any miscues in here right now. Looks like they did their job.
Good stop.
Here comes Castro
Neves. So he will not lead that lap. And there's the flashing lights. And your right front tire changer.
They made a slight adjustment to their front wing.
There comes Scott Dixon, so they'll cycle back through.
Looks like
Matsura coming in, or is he going to he's going to assume the lead? Quick stop.
Yeah, it looked like everybody had a fairly good pit stop. You know, they all look the same, but boy, 0.2 of a second can mean a lot of distance on the racetrack. So we'll see when they all cycle through exactly where they are.
Matsura is going to lead a lap. Whoa! Contact, and who was that? Broken right rear. Which
obviously
it's Hornish.
It's Hornish.
It's Hornish.
Boy, this is going to be a big blow to his point standings. A huge blow. And that was one of the things he said. You have to finish the race. You can't make a mistake. It looked like he got up there in the marbles. I'm not sure what caused him to get up there. Maybe we can get another look on it.
The tire went down.
Well, it could be.
Or was the tire loose? We saw the tire was, the suspension was broken, or the tire was loose, the wheel was loose after the contact. So maybe we can tell before the contact, in fact, was the the wheel loose.
Just looked to me like he got up in the marbles for whatever reason. I'm not sure why he got up there. He got up in the marbles, and that's what caused the. He went wide around Mira, and he just got up in the marbles. And that's what caused the wheel to go loose. You hit the wall, the wheels are going to come loose every time on these babies. But he was trying to run wide, and you just can't run up there. You've got to stay on the bottom. And he's the guy in the interview when we said this, who said, you've got to stay on the bottom. And then he didn't do that. And it was a mental error on his part. He thought he was going fast enough and good enough that he could go out there and do that.
Here it is again. He's already made contact with the wall.
Yeah, that's...
Right rear suspension is broken at this point. He's along for the ride.
See, he did not hit that wall very hard. It was not. See, right here. He just gets up there. Once it took off, he did the right thing, but, trying to drive it down.
I'd like to see that replay again if I could. That replay right there, because it just took off on him.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen drivers run that high on this racetrack this evening.
Well,
but it just took off just like there was a huge push.
He got in the marbles. That's all there was to it.
So the second yellow of the evening. This is for Sam Hornish. Area. Is that Mira come back in?
Yep. It looks like it is.
Mira's coming back in. There's Danica.
Vito Mira, this is a very smart move on his part, too. He should be able to make it to the end. If he can run 68.
Look at this. Here's Wheldon.
Wheldon did it, too. Everybody came in. So then they topped off and fuel, didn't change tires. So they all had the same idea. They knew that under the yellow, they might as well come in, get topped off, because Danica and Matsura had the right idea.
Wheldon came in. Dixon came in. There's Mira. Of course, you saw Danica Patrick in the pit lane.
Matsura, yeah, a lot of them came in. It looked like Matsura might have got back out in the lead.
Well, timing and scoring is showing the 55 car in the lead, with Dixon second, Wheldon third, Mira fourth, Patrick is fifth. Then Franchitti. So hopefully we can hear from Penske. Here's Roger.
What happened with Sam?
Well, it looked like he came up and got behind Mira after the stop and tried to get around him on the outside, coming off a two, and got into the gray stuff, got up into the wall. Just unfortunate, but fresh tires and full tank of fuel, just unfortunate happened.
With the points race so critical, will you be able to repair the car possibly and get him back out? Do you have a shot at all?
No, we're out for the night. We just have to focus next week. It's a tough break for us, but we got 4 races to go, and Wheldon was running a heck of a race.
All right, thank you, Roger.
Well, any warning on that snapped half shaft?
Oh, we were running a great race, and I just want to thank everybody at Vision, our associate sponsor, Rock Republic, and it was just a great run for us. Everybody did a great job, and sometimes these drive shafts go. I've broken them when they knew, and I've broken them when they had 10,000 miles on it. So it's just racing. I just thank everybody at Vision for giving me a good car this race.
Fellas,
well, out with the broken half shaft. Hornish, as you surmised, just got in the gray and it took off on him.
Yeah, there was, it didn't appear to me like there was any question. He just got up there where he really didn't have any business.
Now the points as of right now, Hornish would be up by 6 over Dixon. Then Castro Neves would fall to 3rd. Wheldon would be 4th, and Mira still would be in 5th position. But we still have a lot of racing here this evening at Nashville. 135 laps in, working on 136.
Yeah.
So 64 laps to go, and Scott Dixon is back in the lead as Mansoura makes his second pit stop of the evening, and all these guys are planning to go the distance without a stop. Live coverage from Nashville Superspeedway as they'll take the green flag, completing lap 138 of 200 scheduled.
And there's some lap traffic up there that
well, that's Kanaan, and he's real racy.
Yeah, he really just pulled down and let Wheldon go on by. Now then he's going to stay on the bottom and let Mira go by. So you got to give him a lot of credit. He doesn't have to do that. He's getting out of the way. He's letting those guys go race. He knows he's not contention here tonight.
Looks like Patrick got by Mansoura for 4th position. So Patrick has moved up 1. Your leader is Scott Dixon. There's Scott.
Yeah, and he's just right now pulling away as the lap traffic back there giving Wheldon a little bit of a problem at this point. He and Mira both.
And that lap car would be the number 20 of Ed Carpenter.
Yeah,
Vision entry.
We know that Wheldon didn't have very kind words for him the first time he got behind him. Doesn't look like he's going to have much better words for him this time.
There were no words. It was just a nice salute.
Well, there he did move over, and I think he's going to move over and let Mira go on by too.
So the first in 3rd position. Now that's a lap car of number 20, and a car that's 17 laps back is the number 11, the green and white of Kanaan. Actually, 4th place is Danica.
Yeah, Danica.
5th is Franchitti. So Mansoura has lost 2 positions the last 2 laps.
Yeah, and Danica actually is running some pretty quick laps. She's coming up on these lap cars pretty well if they get out of her way.
About to go by the number 20 of Carpenter.
Kanaan, and she got around Carpenter okay, so Kanaan now the only lap car between her and the front 3 guys.
Now you got to believe there are a lot of folks cheering for Mira and Patrick to find victory lane for the first time. We'll talk about how many races it takes to find victory lane. Wheldon won his 19th time. Hornish won his 9th timeout. Kanaan won his 3rd timeout. Scheckter won the 11th timeout. Scott Sharp, the 4th timeout for Scott. And Franchitti, his 13th. This is the 40th race for Mira. Still looking for that elusive victory after 5 runner-up positions.
Well, we talked about strategy, and right now it looks like Scott Dixon, by not making that pit stop, may have had the best strategy of all, because they did run about 6 or 7 yellow flag laps after that. So that means that he might be able to go 72 laps, and if he can't, look at this, Castro Neves down to the inside of Marco trying to lap him.
Well, you made the comment about 15, 20 laps ago. I said the winner will come from the top 3, and you said no, the top 4, because Dixon has an opportunity.
There was no question. Those 4 guys were much quicker than anybody else in the racetrack. Dixon wasn't right up there behind those guys because Kanaan was between them, but he was still running lap speeds at the same speed as they were, so there was no reason he didn't have a chance to win this race. And right now, strategy and track position are so important. Maybe his strategy will be the one to play off. Of course, if he runs out of gas or out of fuel in the last lap, then it won't be such a smart move.
Well, you mentioned fuel. It's 10% ethanol. Of course, a corn-based fuel. And next year, they're going to 100% ethanol.
Right. And they will not get as good a fuel mileage. The ethanol does not. You don't get as good a mileage with ethanol. So it'll be interesting to see. And here comes Franchitti. He was coming up on Danica Patrick right there.
That'd be the battle for 4th position. Marco looking back. Marco now back in 9th position. That's Elio right behind him and Briscoe right behind Elio. Elio back in the 7th position.
I'm a little surprised that Castaneva's spotter's not down there really giving Marco's spotter a little what for right now to get him out of the way, because Marco's a lap down. Castaneva's still in the lead lap with a chance to move up a couple more spots and still in the points chase.
Briscoe lap off the pace.
Look at that. Look how much faster he is. Now that maybe Marco is getting out of the throttle, we're going to let him go by.
Well, he went by whether we let him go by or not. Yeah, he did, because here comes Briscoe.
Yeah.
Marco gets passed by Briscoe because he did breathe the throttle.
Well, that's what he didn't want to happen. That's why he wasn't letting him around that well before, because that was a pass for position.
That was a pass for position. So Briscoe goes to 9th and Marco drops to 10th.
Right. And that's the reason he was battling Castaneva a little harder. But I'm sure what happened was the spotters up on top of the roof. Castaneva's spotter went down there and said, "Hey, get that kid out of the way."
This is a battle for position right here. This is a battle for 4th. Franchitti to the inside of Danica.
Yeah, and Danica moved over and let him have the bottom. I'm really surprised.
But he couldn't make the pass.
No, he couldn't make the pass.
Now let's see you. Now you got to get the throttle to it right there.
She closed the door on him right there. She
gave him room before.
No, she didn't close the door. She just didn't give him the bottom of the racetrack.
But she gave him room before the last lap, and he couldn't make the pass.
But look, when he loses momentum and has to get out of the throttle, look how much ground he loses to her. And now he's got 8 car lengths to make up.
Well, back up in front, the 2 Target Chip Ganassi cars running 1 and 2. Scott Dixon, his teammate Dan Wheldon. Vito Mira is still 3rd. Patrick is 4th, and Franchitti is 5th. Matsura is 6th, 7th Castroneves, 8th Simmons. Those 8 on the lead lap.
Well, this ought to be interesting because Wheldon is catching Dixon. He and Mira both have caught him. They were back about a second behind. Now then they're only 0.3 of a second behind. So it'll be interesting to see once they catch Dixon if they can make the pass.
Wheldon there in 2nd position. You see the interval between 1st and 2nd. And there is Vito Mira back in 3rd position.
As he has been all year long, hanging around in the top 3, still not being able to pull off the victory.
Well, he's had 4 top 5 finishes this season.
And boy,
2 of those were runner-up positions, and he is all over the rear of Dan Wheldon.
Yeah, I think he and Wheldon are definitely the 2 fastest cars on the racetrack right now.
Well, there's Danica, and of course Franchitti has caught back up to Danica. They had a good spat for position a few laps ago.
Yeah, and she's really staying on the bottom of the racetrack. She's not going to let him get to the bottom underneath. If he wants to go around, he's going to have to do it the hard way.
Well, that's exactly where Sam said he had to stay all race, but couldn't keep it down there trying to pass Vito Mira.
Once in a while, the thing you do, though, by staying that low on the racetrack is you kind of kill some of your RPMs and kill some of your speed. On this racetrack, it doesn't hurt you near as much as it does on some of the others, though.
Now there's a look at Franchitti, who won this race just a year ago. Lives not far away here in the Nashville suburbs. The Scotsman.
Yeah, he's trying desperately. You can see him shifting gears.
There's Ashley.
Yeah, she's definitely watching very intently what's going on the racetrack, because he's working very hard to get around Danica. She's done nothing wrong. She's run her groove, and he just hasn't been able to figure out a way to get around her yet.
And he's used several different grooves.
Yeah, he's tried to run high. He knows exactly what happened to Sam Hornish. He doesn't want to get out there and have the same thing happen to him. So he's going to have to try to get that little run somewhere on the racetrack and get his nose inside of her going into the corner. Look how close she runs down the straightaways.
Again, this is the battle for 4th position. Franchitti is 5th. Matsura is in 6th position. 7th is Castroneves, and those 7 on the lead lap. Now Jeff Simmons is going to lap down in the 8th position. So only 7 cars on the lead lap. There is Matsura, who led a couple laps earlier before he made that last pit stop.
Yeah, after that last pit stop, I think whatever they changed on the race car did not work near as well. He was running better before the last pit stop. He's lost several positions after that last pit stop. I think they changed the wing or whatever, and he slowed down.
Could just be the set of tires they put on there.
Well, could be. Could be just an unmatched set of tires. There's Castroneves, who has pretty much struggled all day long. I mean, for him. I mean, for most people, they'd be happy to be running that well for most of the race.
Well,
but
not the last driver in the lead lap in 7th position.
No, he's not happy with that, but he has not really been in contention since. I've got to believe that he had something bent just slightly on that very first lap, because he's never been in contention since then.
39 laps to go. And there is Simmons, who's a lap off the pace, but is currently in 8th position. And right behind him is Herta. Well, Herta is back in a 12th position now. He's about 3 laps off the pace.
Yeah, Simmons, though, is having a pretty good run. Here comes Briscoe as he gets to the inside of Herta.
Well, Briscoe now back in the 9th position as you go back on board with Franchitti on lap 162, and that is Danica Patrick out in front of him. This is the battle for 4th spot.
Yeah, he's
back up in front. The teammates.
Yeah.
Wheldon has won once this season, and his teammate Scott Dixon won once. Scott won on the road course in a very cold, damp afternoon in the Finger Lake region of Watkins Glen in New York. Finger Lakes region. Boy, it was a dismal day, wasn't it? And of course, the wind coming at Homestead for a yellow, the 3rd of the evening.
Well, this will be interesting. This definitely gives Scott Dixon enough fuel.
You said they may have made a adjustment, and the car was not running as well, and
obviously it's not
clouded the wall.
Not running as well now as he's clouded, exactly hit the wall. So, yeah, whatever they did on that last pit stop, whether they put on a set of tires that were mismatched or they made an adjustment to the car, was really caused him all kinds of problems. He hit the back end pretty hard, tore the whole rear wing off, as well as both left side tires.
Well, now, will we see pit stops?
No. Track position is too important. Scott Dixon now does not have to worry. He will have enough fuel to make it to the end. The big question will be, can Dan Wheldon get around him? So, Wheldon and Mira both seem to be a little quicker, but boy, trying to get around him is going to be very, very difficult. So Scott Dixon may be the smartest strategist of all of them as he stayed on the racetrack.
Let's watch a replay, Larry, to see what happened to Matsura in the Fernandez entry. Obviously making contact with the rear of the car first and knocking off the wing and the left rear, and this is after the fact.
Yeah.
Hit the safer barrier.
He'd already been up there and hit everything after everything was already torn off. So it happened pretty far back in the corner. So whatever happened as he entered the corner and he got up into the walls. I doubt if it was something to do with the marbles, because it happened way too early in the corner.
Well, the 3rd yellow of the evening. Buddy Rice coasted into the pits early on lap 64 to bring out the first yellow. Sam Hornish got high in the gray and the marbles and hit the fence and slid to the inside of the racetrack on lap 130. Now lap 164, another accident, a single car crash involving Matsura. You can see the contact to the safer barrier up there, and they're picking up some of the shards of fiberglass and carbon composite. So the pits are open. Let's see who avails themselves to the pit lane as the running order. Scott Dixon and his teammate Dan Wheldon, and Vito Mir in 3rd. Danica Patrick is 4th, and Dario Franchitti is in 5th position.
I'd be very surprised. Franchitti is probably going to have to make a pit stop. He and Castroneves, because they've got a lot of laps on their cars. Maybe not. But they would be the only ones I would think would even think about coming into the pits.
Vito Mira back in 3rd position. He finished 3rd a week ago. We'll make that 2 weeks ago at Kansas. And he was 2nd the race before that at Richmond.
Yeah, here do come a couple of them. I think Franchitti is one of them. He and Castroneves both. They were going to be close on fuel. I figured he and Castroneves were going to have to come in because they were going to be pretty close on fuel. They don't need, all they got to do is put on new tires and go back out. They don't have to get a full load of fuel because they, those guys both had to run about 75 or 76 laps on that load of fuel in order to make it, because they were the first ones to pit the last time around, and they both figured the same as I did. They couldn't make it.
So the leaders all stay out. They will stretch it as they work on lap 167 of scheduled 200. You see the sweeper out there. The crew still out there as Scott Dixon leads his teammate. Live coverage of our final night race of the season. And, of course, next week it's off to the Milwaukee Mile, one of the favorite racetracks of open-wheel drivers. A track's been around for a good number of years. One of the oldest tracks in the country.
And one of the raciest one-mile racetracks in the whole
It's
country.
flat. No banking like this. It's a flat racetrack.
It's flat, but it's exciting. I mean, remember last year, Hornish and Castro Nevis, Hornish took his teammate out. And near the end, they were racing each other so hard. And that's what we could see here at the end of this race, if these two guys get to battling really, really hard here near the end.
Well, of course, after Milwaukee, the flat track at Milwaukee, we head off to Michigan, which is that high bank racetrack up in the Irish Hills of southern Michigan.
Very fast, big racetrack.
Big, wide track. You can go 3-4 wide there on the high bank turns. Mito Mira still in third position after starting 7th. He was third just a couple of weeks ago, and then before that he was second.
Well, he's kind of wondering what these two guys up in front of him are going to be doing too. Believe me, and there's Danica. She's running in 4th position in a very good spot right now.
Especially if those two guys take each other out up in front.
Yeah. But then Castro Nevis is right behind her. He gained, he did a good job. I mean, they just took on fuel. He got around Franchitti, but he also got around some of those lap cars that he was behind him too. So that helped him get right back up in contention.
So he came in, took on the fuel.
All night.
And so now 31 laps to go. So you have some lap cars between Patrick and 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 3 lap cars between
Patrick and Castro Nevis. We want to hear from Sam Hornish if we can before we go back to racing.
Yeah, this should be an interesting interview. See exactly what he's got to say, especially after his interview before the race.
Maybe they should play that one back first.
Yeah, right.
Patience, lad, patience.
Well,
and Sam was here just a moment ago watching what happened from outside the car. Sam, from inside the car, what happened to you over there?
Not really sure. The car had been really good through 1 and 2. The problem that we were finding is a little bit of looseness off before. So we came in, made adjustments, and the car was pretty good and just went out there. And I know it was only the second lap on the new tires, so they might have been a little bit cold, and just went in there and tried to get a good run on Vitor to come off the next corner, and just it never turned. The car just went straight. So it was really unfortunate for the team, but I guess there's nothing I can do about it now. I'll just have to keep working hard at it and see if we can get this points lead back and continue to be strong for the rest of the season.
All right, Sam's come back out here on pit road pulling for his teammate Elio Castro Nevis.
Well, it's going to take some effort right now for Elio to get up there and lead a lap because he's back there on this restart in 5th position. He's not been in contention this entire race. The best Castro Nevis has been was on the start of the race when he actually was in the outside second row in the 4th position, and he dropped back 3 spots at the start, and that's where he'd been for much of the race.
Good business information. Wouldn't that give you an edge? As an investor, as a consumer, as a business person, CNN puts you face to face with people in the know. Share their experiences, perspectives, and what it all means to you. They are the world's business leaders. They know success, and we connect you to them every step of the way. CNN, be the first to know.
For the first time, the secret state reveals itself through the struggles and joys of 2 schoolgirls preparing for the largest choreographed spectacle in the world. Enter A State of Mind. Premieres Sunday, 23rd July on Discovery Channel.
Larry Rice, Gary Lee, and a host of others. All the guys and gals behind the cameras and working as spotters and in the broadcast booth and the production trailer. And we're happy to be here live with you from Nashville Super Speedway. You're right along with Dan Wheldon in 2nd position. And As we said earlier, he has gained the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps, and that was all during the first half of this race. There's Scott Dixon, who leads this thing, and basically on pit strategy put him out in front.
Yeah, it was good pit strategy in his time. Green next time by, as you see the pace car pulling off. And every one of those first 3 guys knows how important this restart is going to be. You can bet that all 3 of those guys are going to be on their absolute...
Well, all 4 of them with the...
Yeah, all 4 of them with Danica back there. They know they've got to get a really terrific start. Look at Wheldon.
Look at Wheldon. Look at Wheldon.
He's hunting. He's trying to figure out a way.
Anticipating.
Yep.
He's trying to get on the throttle before his teammate does as the green comes out.
Well,
did he?
He's trying. No, I don't think so. I think Dixon got a great start. He may have got a little bit of a jump, but not nearly enough. And look at Castroneves. He goes to the outside. He passes all but one of those lap cars. So he got around 2 of those lap cars on that restart. And there he goes by Jeff Simmons. And look at this.
Look at Vito Almeida up to 2nd position. Vito Almeida up to 2nd. Can he pull off his win in the 40th start in the IndyCar Series? Wow. Vito Almeida, and look at Patrick on the inside. She had a thought about going by Wheldon.
Well, Wheldon, evidently he got such a good run, and he got up there and he had to get out of the throttle rather than run over his teammate. And when he got out of the throttle, he gave Mira that little bit of extra impetus to go on by him. So he got a pretty good restart, not quite good enough, and it actually ended up costing him a spot on that restart.
Well, you're right along with Danica right now, but right behind Danica is Castroneves. He got a great restart and got by those lap cars.
Yeah, everything that he did wrong the first part of the race, he's making up for right here near the end. As he right now has a great shot at running in the top 4, which is what he wants to do for the point standings.
So Scott Dixon with a 0.3 of a second lead over Vito Mira. Mira then being challenged for 2nd by Dan Wheldon, who's back in 3rd, then Patrick, then Castroneves, then Franchitti. Those 6 are on the lead lap.
Well, I can promise you that Dan Wheldon right now, he's not a very happy man. He knows exactly what he did. I mean, he did what he thought was right. He tried to get the lead, but when he didn't have enough momentum to go around him, he had to back off a little bit and let Vito Mira go around. And Mira right now looks like he's every bit as fast as Scott Dixon, if not a little bit faster.
And here comes Wheldon, top of your screen, the top 3, nose to tail on this racetrack on lap 180.
Wheldon's the fastest guy on the racetrack, no question about it. He really gained on Mira that time around. But once you get down to that corner, boy, you just got to give him that corner. And the bad thing is you can't run a half car width up through the corners here. See right there, he tried to follow him through and he lost the front end, pushed up towards the wall. That's the only thing you can do here.
Top 3.
Whoa, right there, he really lost the front end.
He's way up on the racetrack.
Mira came down across his front end, took the air off of the front wing.
And look at this, here comes Danica.
She's going
to get up high too and get in trouble.
Yeah, she decided not to do that. That was a smart decision on her part, because that was not going to end up pretty if she'd gone to the outside through that corner.
Well, she's going to have all she can handle right now in Castroneves.
Well, when she had to get out of the throttle, it gave Castroneves a chance to catch up with her.
Riding on board Vito Mira, he's in 2nd position. He's finished 2nd twice already this season. 1 3rd place finish, 1 5th place finish. But boy, he'd like to dig his way by Scott Dixon right now.
Boy, it's just so difficult on this racetrack to make any kind of a move like that. I mean,
you make a mistake, you lose a lot of ground.
That's right. You know, you can do those things, but boy, if you make a very big mistake, it could cost you. You could end up like Sam Hornish. You know, the thing may feel good going in, but by the time you get those little marbles, and believe me, there's tons and tons of marbles.
Look at this. Well, Vito Mira sizing him up, seeing where perhaps he has the advantage. As you see, 17 laps to go.
Well, he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to figure a way.
You know, this Panther team has won 2 championships with Sam Hornish, but you know, it would mean so much to them. This could be one of the biggest wins of that team's history.
Well, it certainly would.
They need a victory.
They had some really good times, and they've had some really bad times. They're going through some of the bad times right now. but Mira has certainly driven the wheels off that race car this year. There's no question about that. And he's doing it again here tonight. I just don't know with the racetrack, this kind of a racetrack, if he can find a way to get around Wheldon.
He's trying different grooves.
Yeah, he's going in. He's going up high. He's trying to get his momentum up. But it's so difficult to keep your momentum up through the corners and then get a run off the corner. Everybody, all three of those guys are running so well that nobody can get the advantage on the other guy.
Vitor right with him. You see a different entry into that corner.
See,
comes up high, dives across the turn. Oh, look at this. He's closing in.
Well, so is Wheldon. Yeah. They're both closing in. They're both using pretty much the same line. They're trying to get out, get a run going into the corner, go right to the very bottom, and try to pull up on him coming off the corner, but they just haven't been able to do that.
Well, can you imagine how frustrated Wheldon's going to be if he doesn't win this thing? After, again, the dominant driver through the first half of the race, which we've seen before this season.
He had to get out of the throttle right there. That's going to cost him. Nope, maybe not. I thought he had to get out of the throttle enough that Wheldon might go around him. Scott Dixon, though, doing a terrific job, doing exactly what he's got to do. Staying right on the bottom of the racetrack, running his own race, making those guys go where he doesn't want to go, which is to the outside.
Well, that's what Mira's doing to Dan Wheldon right now.
Dan Wheldon right now. He stayed about a half car width out that time and made it through the corner. And you can look how much straightaway speed he had. Just now then, Mira started running a little bit on the defensive side. I think
what had been a good battle for the lead now is a battle for second position.
Weldon has been the fastest guy all day long, pretty much. And it looks like he still is. Just trying to get around Mira.
But catching the guy is one thing. Passing is something else on this racetrack.
Exactly. And he's out there. He's pretty much in the gray. That's where Sam Hornish got in trouble, just about where he's running right now.
There was a block right there. Uh-oh, he's got him now. He's got him.
Uh-oh. Man.
Almost contact.
Mira let him go.
And here comes Patrick. Is she going to get third?
Oh, my gosh. She's got a good run on him outside.
Oh, she couldn't make the pass. She had to get out of it. Now here comes Castro Nevitz.
Yeah, and she goes right to the bottom of the racetrack to protect that inside line, which is what Mira did. That's how Mira kept her back there.
9 laps to go. Your leader is Dixon. This would be his second win of the season. Second, his teammate, Dan Wheldon. Third is Vitor Mira. Danica Patrick is fourth, and Castro Nevitz fifth. Those 5. And then Dario Franchitti in 6th position. Those 6 on the lead lap. All right, now here is that pass for second position. And almost contact. Contact.
Doesn't get any closer than that. You just can't get any closer than that. Mira finally just had to let him go. He didn't have any choice. And he was trying to stay as close to the bottom as he could. And when he did, he almost lost, like you said, he almost lost another spot to Danica Patrick.
Well, Danica, the topic of much conversation this week because her parents went to Chicago to watch the NASCAR race and kind of just, snooped around, see there might be some interest. And boy, the media got a hold of that, and it was a firestorm.
Boy, it certainly was. And look at Wheldon now that he's catching his teammate with only 6 laps to go.
Mira may still win this thing if they take each other out.
Yeah, he might. Wheldon is on a mission. I just don't know how brave he's going to be when it's his own teammate, though.
Well, and I don't think they're team owners. I really don't think that Ganassi's going to tell him to...
No, Ganassi's not going to tell him who's going to win the race. He's going to let them race
each other. And we've seen teammates crash before, i.e. the Penske boys.
And let's see if Wheldon can make this thing work for him as he did with Mira. Gets on the outside, gets that run down to the inside.
He has to be careful coming across through that car.
Right there.
He lost a lot of ground right there.
Yep, he got it. See?
That should probably do it for Dixon.
A little bit of look at this. Chip Ganassi is a very nervous car owner right now.
Well, 3 laps to go, he's going to be a very happy car owner. He's going to finish 1-2.
Yep.
But I think Wheldon that time just took himself out of contention. I think Dixon's got this one. Of course, I said that about Marco at Indianapolis, and the Hornish came back and nipped him.
Yeah, a little bit of a different story here, though. You got a little more experience up there in front. Scott Dixon is not going to make a mistake. That's the one thing he's not going to do. He's very experienced. He's a very smart guy. He's not going to make a mistake. If his teammate beats him, then he's just...
He's going to have a shot at him. He's going to have one more shot. Well, the white flag will fly this time by.
Well, he's going to try to get out there. He's going to try to get that run down the straightaway right here. And
there's the white flag. There's the white flag. 1 lap to go.
Stick his nose. See, Dixon's not going to give him that inside. But he's going to go to the outside now. Then this is going to be his chance. If he's going to make the pass, it's going to be right here. But Dixon's just not going to give him enough room. Well, he's going to go to the outside. Nope. No room out there either.
Dixon's going to block that inside, and he's going to take this victory. Here it is, and his second win of the season for Scott Dixon. Wheldon takes second. Second time this season, Mira finishes third. Patrick holds on for fourth. Castro-Neves takes fifth. Well, so Mira, for the second straight race, finished in third position. Doesn't hurt his points any. Let's see if we can get the old Chip Ganassi down there. There's a fireworks blast overhead.
Ganassi, first 1-2 finish for Target Ganassi in IRL IndyCar competition. Congratulations.
Jerry, thanks. I mean, we've led a lot of laps this year. We beat ourselves a bunch. I'm sorry that Sam got put out of the race. We wanted to beat him fair and square, and hopefully this gets us back a little closer in the points. And I don't know what the points are, but this certainly helps tonight.
Hey, congratulations. Go celebrate with Scott Dixon.
Thank you very much. He's a good driver. He's a good racer.
So Scott wins on the road course at Watkins Glen, on the tri-oval here in Nashville. So Dixon takes the victory. And there was the interval between first and second, with Wheldon second, Mira third, Patrick fourth, and Castro-Neves fifth. Live coverage from the Nashville Super Speedway. Jamie Little down there to converse with our winner, who is still in the cockpit. I'm not sure why he's in no hurry to climb out.
Well, I don't know either, but he'll be getting out of there in a second. Jamie will grab him as soon as he does. Took his crew a while to get there. He didn't go out and do the donuts and everything like everybody usually does.
Dixon makes his way out of the cockpit. You guys, it has been 3 years since Scott Dixon tasted victory on an oval track. It's his second win of the year. We're going to get over here to him. One of the coolest prizes right here, one of the coolest trophies ever, is the Gibson guitar. It's now Scott Dixon's. Scott, take us through your race. What was the difference? I know it's been a long time coming on an oval for you.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and today I don't think we had the fastest car, but we were consistent in traffic. We actually crashed into Helio in turn 2 there on the start and bent the front a bit, so it was a bit slow, but the guys did a great job on the pits. Our fuel mileage was awesome, so credit to Target 1-2. That's awesome, and it's good to see.
Of all people out on the track, it was your own teammate trying to run you down. They're telling him to tuck behind you and try to gain some momentum to get around you. How'd you hold him off?
I don't know. I think, being out front, it was easy to protect you. Once you got on the bottom, the high line was good, but it wasn't good enough, I think, to get around a fast enough car. And, I was trying to hold him off. Dan was definitely a fast car tonight, and probably the one, I think, if it came down to speed, would have won. But, we were out front and we kept it.
All right, Scott Dixon takes over the win for Chip Ganassi, and they stop Penske domination. Dr. Punch.
All right, thank you, Jamie Little. Dario Franchitti's climbed out of the Climb Tools car. And Dario, you battled the elements and the traffic, and when it was over, you were pretty frustrated when you climbed out of the car. What upset you the most?
Just a long day. We didn't get a proper warm-up yesterday because I had a mechanical problem in the car, so we didn't really know what the car was going to do in these conditions, and it turned out I had a pretty big understeer coming off the corner. But we couldn't work on it because it was loose going in the corner. So it was a long day. I was getting blocked by a couple of people. Danica especially was blocking when I'd really had a good chance to pass her, and that was frustrating. But other than that, it was just a hard night. Just tough.
All right, Dario Franchitti, who won it here a year ago, gets a 6th-place finish here tonight. Jack?
Well, getting the congratulations to Scott Remke, the general manager for Rahal Letterman Racing. Hey, you're back up with the front runners.
Hey, this feels so good, It's been a while. It's You know, it was since Indy last year. It's kind of sad to say, but it's true, and it's good to be back up in the top 5 again, and I just need to run up here. If we can get the car fast enough to run up here with these guys and qualify so we don't have to mess around in the back, one of these times it's going to be a win. One of these times those guys are going to get collected up front, or I'm going to be able to get a jump on the start. Something's going to happen, and this is just the kind of place we need to be. So everything went really smooth for us today. The fuel strategy played well into our hands. We were pit next lap, and then yellow, which is crank it down and save fuel, but we made it, and so that obviously helped. But I've learned in this game it takes a little bit of luck to win. So
Danica, let's talk a little bit about the waning moments of the race. Things got real dicey in there, and it looked, in fact, Dario Franchitti said just moments ago, he felt like maybe you were blocking a little bit. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was protecting, and there's nothing illegal about staying down the inside. As soon as he was behind me, I know we're seeing that right now, I protected the inside and I kept it. If you wanted to go up around the top, I wouldn't have put up a fight, but that's all we can do out here is to protect the bottom. And if you get up top, I saw it a lot of times, the guys picked up stuff on their tires. So, if Barnhart or someone has something to say, that's fine. But other than that, in the driver's meeting, they say, if you want the bottom, you stay on the bottom. If you want the top, you stay on the top. And I wanted the bottom.
Hey, it's been a wild couple of days for you. How does all this now come into play with all of the rumors? At the top of the show, you said you still want a piece of that Borg Warner trophy.
That's right, and that has not changed one bit. I think what it proves is that, being nervous and being under pressure is better for me. So, I don't know. You guys all need to hang around a little more often or something.
Hey, guys, it's all up to you now.
All right, we'll just put some more pressure on her to bring her home a victory.
Well, she did a great job here tonight.
Once again, Scott Dixon takes the win over his teammate Dan Wheldon. Vito Mira for the second straight race finishes third. Danica Patrick, her best finish of the season. As you take a look at those who were out of the race, Sam Hornish took himself out. And Thomas Scheckter, of course, broke the half shaft. He was out. Buddy Rice had an engine problem. And once again, the victory goes to Scott Dixon. At Nashville. Point standings now. Sam Hornish is now only 5 up on Scott Dixon. Look at this. Castro Nevitz and then Wheldon. Let's go to Dixon.
What an eventful weekend for Scott Dixon. It was near disaster in qualifying yesterday as they barely made it under the deadline.
He barely made it on the deadline. He had to change the sensor in the back, went back out and qualified third.
Then early in the race, he brushes the wall.
And there's not too many times you can do that on a course like this, which puts a lot of load wheels, and get away with it when you've hit the right rear of the car on the wall.
And he comes back to pick up his first win on an oval since 2003, and he's ready to play that Gibson Les Paul guitar here at Nashville. Take a look at our final results here. As you'll go through and you'll see a lot of shakeup. People like Vitor Mera, Danica Patrick matching her career best finish. Elio Castroneves, Dario Franchitti, the only cars on the lead lap. Jeff Simmons with his best run this season. And there.
So Dixon defeats his teammate Dan Wheldon. Wheldon, hopefully a comment now from Jamie. Does she cut up with Dan? Vito Mira there in third. Patrick fourth. Castroneves fifth. Then Franchitti in sixth. Those 6 finished on the lead lap. Jeff Simmons a lap off the pace. His best ride so far this season in the 7th position. Marco also a lap off the pace in the 8th position. So the rookies finished right together in the racetrack.
Straight race, but Dan, you seem to be pretty frustrated at the end. I know there were some hot tempers over here, even though you finished second. What was going on?
Oh, it was, I think, a good result for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. I'm not sure how many 1-2s they've had, but that was a good one.
Well, tell us what was happening. We can hear on the radio you were a little frustrated about trying to tuck in and save fuel. Were you getting different fuel mileage than your teammate?
I was a little confused as to, like, I couldn't get the mileage that I was being told. And then obviously I was getting hounded by Vitor, so I wasn't sure whether I needed to let him go or stay behind or what to do. So just I was very confused.
Well, one more second place finish for Dan Wheldon. Like you guys said, it moved him up a little closer in the points.
We called it the little team that could. I think we have to call Vitor Mira and Panther Revive Racing the little team that can. Tell me about that last couple of laps, you and Dan Wheldon. How close was it?
Doesn't get much closer than that. Closer than that is the donut from Texas. It doesn't get much closer than that. And I just have to thank again for the first race, the Revive Panther Racing with the Revive USA guys coming on board. Third race to start with. It's a good start.
That will take your breath away, Vitor.
Well, as he says, you don't get much closer than that.
Yeah, they certainly were close. These guys were really battling each other. I'm not sure what Wheldon was so confused about, but man, oh man, he was not a happy guy when that race was over. I thought maybe he was mad at his teammate.
Well, next week, of course, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the famous Milwaukee Mile, the 10th race of our 14th schedule for this season. That will be a week from tomorrow as we wrap up our night races for the season with Scott Dixon's victory over his teammate Dan Wheldon. Photo session continues as the fans start to hit the exit, and once again the unofficial finish showing Scott Dixon over his teammate Vito Mira for the second straight race, finishing third. A good ride, the best finish of the season for Danica Patrick in fourth position. Castro Neves came back to finish fifth in the points. Once again, only 5 points separating Scott Dixon, Sam Hornish. Castro Neves now in third. And I tell you what, we've got a whole lot of racing to go. And the next race, a week from tomorrow, the Milwaukee, Wisconsin track. That's a favorite for a lot of these guys.
It certainly is. It's a very racy racetrack. It's flat. It's a 1 mile. You got to be handling, and you got to be brave to run up there.
And it's a different kind of track than what we've seen all season long. We've talked about these tracks like Texas where they run side by side. Here, you had to almost nose to tail. There, you just kind of dive under them going into a corner.
Yeah, that's the thing. You really can race
use the
up
brakes
there.
A little bit.
Right. It's not a side-by-side type racetrack, but you can really get a run because you can run 2 or 3 grooves into the corner and 2 or 3 grooves off the corner and get a big run on somebody and do some passing. We see a lot of passing in Milwaukee.
Contact almost there between Scheckter. You see some of the highlights from this race, and there's Wheldon in his pit stop. And it was pit strategy that made the big difference for Scott Dixon and got Scott out in front. There's the miscue by Sam Hornish. He hit the wall and took him out of contention. He still has the points lead by only 5, though. And here was a great battle between the number 4 Panther and the number 10. This has been a presentation of ESPN in association with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Join us 1 week from tomorrow for live coverage of the A.J. Foyt 225 from the Milwaukee Mile as we salute Supertex. For Larry Rice, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us, and so long from Nashville, Tennessee.